Welcome into Nashville Game Changers. I'm your host, Jill Jelnick. And in case you missed the memo, NASCAR is taking over Nashville this week. Cracker Barrel 400 all set for Sunday, June 1st. And one driver that's hoping to hoist that Gibson Guitar Trophy, take over victory lane. Joining us now, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Ricky, obviously busy week for you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Not a problem. It's always good to be in Nashville. Like you said, trying to win a Gibson guitar. Went to the Gibson Guitar Factory and, or the garage there and saw where they, can custom make guitars and design them. And they said that they've, done this guitar for Victory Lane. So I definitely want it. And I told them, hopefully I can come back and they could teach me to play it. But we got to win it first.
That's Gibson Guitar Garage, the Gibson Garage, one of my favorite places in Nashville. Shout out to Mark Taylor, who's with Gibson. They do an amazing job. That's with the guitars that are literally around the ceiling. They're going, you walk in and you're immediately like, whoa, this is legendary.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was really cool. And, I've tried to play a guitar, and try is where I left that. I put it on my motorhome, and I used to carry it with me to the tracks, and I was really serious about it, and then never really got anything.
That's okay. Hopefully you win on Sunday, get the Gibson guitar, and then learn, right?
I told him if I win on Sunday, I'm going to learn.
This is the Music City. I'm sure we can find a couple people to help you out.
We should be able to.
Obviously, the Gibson Guitar Trophy, one of the more unique factors about this race at the Nashville Superspeedway. What else stands out to you about this track?
Well, it's concrete, and, we've got three full concrete racetracks that we race on, and they're all totally different. And then if you add Martinsville in there, we got four with their corners, but they're all so totally different. And Nashville is unique because it's shaped like a 1.5 mile racetrack, but it almost races a little bit like a short track. And then, the exit of turn 2 is so much different than the exit of turn 4. And so, like, you might have your car good on, one corner of the racetrack, and then you struggle when you get to the other end. So it's challenging for sure. And, it's one of those racetracks that if you can get your car dialed in right, it's really, really fun. And, a lot of people will struggle behind you if you get your car dialed in right. So hopefully we get it dialed in right this weekend. Yeah,
when it comes to that concrete track and those turns, like you mentioned, how unique they are, what's the strategy there? How do you kind of game plan for a track specifically like this?
Well, we go back and look at a lot of our notes, and, we've used Nashville, in the past as a test race track for a long time. And then, now we got the Cup Series going there, and it's been awesome. The fan engagement at the racetrack has been huge. But, for us, we look at past notes. I think looking at concrete racetracks, what did we do at Bristol and Dover in particular to get a good feel in your car? Because the way the concrete's, put down, it's a little bit rougher and it's got some bumps in it compared to like an asphalt racetrack. So we look at a lot of historical data and look at a lot of our notes, and, then run the simulator that the GM Center has for us. So we use a lot of different tools to try and get it right. We've gotten it right a couple times, and we've missed it a few times as well.
I imagine despite the various tracks that you race on throughout the NASCAR Cup Series season, you probably stick to a very specific routine. What's your routine? Do you have a walkout song? Do you have a go-to song? I'm sure a playlist you listen to. What are some of the things that you go through on race day?
No, I mean, our race days they change every Sunday. So, like at Nashville this weekend, I might have 2 or 3 appearances before the race, or you go to the next weekend at Michigan, you might have 5 appearances before the race. So it's not like you can get up at a certain time and like you have, these 2 or 3 hours to yourself. That would be nice, but we have a lot of, fan things to do, engagements, at the racetrack. We got sponsors that we got to do stuff for. We do things for the track. And so like your schedule's never the same. And so our sport is unique where, when a lot of athletes come in, they can't believe that we go from doing all of this stuff to all of a sudden you do, the prayer, the national anthem, turn around, shake hands with your team guys, jump in the car and go. They're like, dude, we need like 2-3 hours to like, get ready, listen to music, get their head, in the right place. And, we got to turn it on really quick. And, it's something that's very unique about our sport, and that most athletes, when they come, can't believe that.
No, and the other big misconception, what I couldn't believe is, I think growing up for me, racing and the driver behind the wheel, I think of it as just one fluid moment, right? You get in, start your engines, race to the finish line. Very, very simple, right? I have learned over the years covering the sport and gained such a respect for drivers because of what you have to endure physically and mentally in the race car. And I think that's something that gets overlooked sometimes. I have such incredible respect for you. How do you manage the emotions of an entire race and sitting in that car for so long?
When the race car is good, it's very easy. Things are, you almost don't end up focusing that much because things are just, it's like, when you're playing a sport in whatever position you're in, if you're feeling it, if you're a pitcher or a, quarterback or whatever, you just are in the zone and you just go and it's easy. It's the days where, you're struggling with the setup, you're struggling with getting the car to do what you want to do. You're a little bit slower than you want to be. Those are the days that it's mentally tough. Making sure that you're trying to figure out how, and if you're not winning, you're always trying to figure out how to take the car, whether you're running 5th, you're trying to figure out how to win, whether you might be running 20th, you might be trying to figure out how to finish 15th. And so you try to chip away at it slowly but surely. Our races are long, 400 miles at Nashville. Just these races are long. We've got a 600-mile race. We got 500-mile races. And, so you take your car and you basically assess it after practice and after qualifying, see where you're starting, kind of come up with a game plan, and you and your team try and slowly, just keep working your way forward, throughout the day. And you can have setbacks. You can have cautions come out at wrong times. You can have bad pit stops. And so what we've done this year with our team is, I feel like we haven't had the car as fast as we wanted, but we've executed really well. We've minimized our mistakes, no penalties, taking advantage of, some good fortunes that we've had, throughout the races. And we're able to be 14th in points with not having a car, I feel like, that fast. And so I got my team guys, I got them pumped up. I'm like, hey, if we get our car going a little bit better, we'll have an opportunity, to keep moving forward. So mentally it's trying to keep yourself in a position where you take it, one lap at a time and just try and, slowly improve. And, for me behind the wheel, I'm constantly giving feedback to my team about what exactly is my car doing? What do I need them to try and fix on the next pit stop so that I can drive it faster?
You mentioned your team a couple times, and I think that's another fun dynamic about this sport is you are the face, you are the driver, you are number 47, but you have an entire team. You have a crew behind you that, like you said, you guys are communicating constantly in your ear, your crew chief. When it comes to that dynamic, how important is the chemistry? How important is that communication, especially throughout the season?
It's big. My crew chief and I have been working together, on and off for a long time. We won our championships in the Nationwide Series, or now the Xfinity Series together. And now we've been back together for a few years. And, he's got 100% confidence in me, what I can do behind the wheel. I got 100% confidence in him leading the team. And I feel like, with us having that communication and that belief in each other, the rest of the team kind of follows along. And so, for me, we've got great people at our team. We're a single car team. We're a small team. So it's a very unique, like boutique type feel compared to some of the bigger teams. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes that's bad. When we get done practicing on Saturday, I don't have any teammates to go, hey, what was your car doing? What changes did you make?
So that's a little bit of a
disadvantage. We literally only have like a small pool of examples or data points that we have throughout the weekend. And so we got to make the best of those decisions, of the information that we have. And so that's when my team relies on me to, give them that feedback. And, but they're the ones that are, at the shop 6:30 to 4:30 every day, working on our cars, building them, prepping them, making sure that we don't have mechanical failures and things like that. So they work really hard. Like you said, I get to be the face of it, and I enjoy that part of it. So, it's been working out really well.
What are some of the benefits of being a part of a smaller team?
Just getting things done. So like, all of us drivers, we drive different. We have different feels. We like our race cars to be different. So a lot of these teams, having backup cars, they got different seats in them, and like everything is tailored just for me and our team, and we're not working on like a teammate, like having this issue and I have this issue,
right?
So it's nice, but at the same time, like I said, we don't have all those teammates to on a given weekend, ask, hey, what, some of the 4-car teams, they got 4 different setups they can run during a weekend and try 4 different changes in practice. So that's, they get 8 to 16 different data points during practice that we don't get. So we might get 2 or 3 different data points from changes that we make, and we got to make our best decisions off of that. So, sometimes, I get frustrated and my team's got to kind of reel me back in a little bit, like, hey, we're in a good spot, but you always want to win. You always want to, run up front. So that gets, tough to do, but, my team gets the same way. They get frustrated sometimes, as well, but, that's part of the sport. You always strive to be better.
You're listening to the Nashville Game Changers podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe. Stay with us. We're back after this. NASCAR's history with the Music City, a little bit of a roller coaster, right? I mean, best way to describe it, because it disappeared from Nashville for a long time. Came back, the Cup Series finally came back to Nashville 2021 after first time since the 1980s. And anybody that doesn't know the history, it's surprising, right? Because Nashville is in my opinion, such a NASCAR racing town.
For sure.
And how much have you seen this city evolve when it comes to NASCAR and motorsports?
It's evolved a lot. When I first got into NASCAR, when I was, testing cars and switching over from dirt tracks, we came to Nashville and we tested a lot. And back then, the Nationwide Series and the Truck Series came here all the time. And like you said, the Cup Series didn't come here until 2021 since, I've been racing. So I was super thrilled when they came back here to Nashville. It's such a, close race to my hometown, which
That's right, from Memphis.
Super nice for me and a lot of my friends and family that, come up from back home. But like you said, I mean, country music, guitars, racing, it all goes hand in hand. So it's good to have, this sport back in Nashville. When we won the Daytona 500 in 2023, we made the playoffs that year, came to the banquet in Nashville. That was cool.
That's
I wish they would have left it here versus Charlotte, but I wasn't in charge of that.
That's okay. We wish so too.
Yes,
you had my vote too.
Yes. So, NASCAR belongs in Nashville, and it's cool to see all these local sponsors get behind, the Nashville Superspeedway, and we got the Cracker Barrel 400 on June 1st that hopefully we can win. Would be nice, but you got the truck races on, coming up on Friday and Saturday, which will be really cool as well.
You mentioned you're from Tennessee, from Memphis. How did you get started in racing growing up?
Yeah, my dad dirt raced when I was growing up. So I went to the racetrack. I was 6 weeks old. The first time my mom ever took me to the racetrack. I started BMX racing when I was 3 years old. Started go-kart racing when I was 5 years old, and then I got, switched to full-size dirt cars, raced out at the Memphis Motorsports Park, where the Nationwide Series, Xfinity Series used to go as well back in the day. That track is no longer there, which is a bummer. But, yeah, that's how I got my start, just racing dirt tracks, around, this area, Clarksville, Tennessee, Atwood, Tennessee, Crossville, Memphis, West Memphis, Arkansas, and then down through Mississippi as well. So just started, figuring out my skills in dirt track racing, and that's what I knew growing up, and that's all I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
Then things just evolved where, it ended up, I got a shot in, to race stock cars and get to the NASCAR Cup Series, and that's been a dream come true.
We call it our game-changing moment on the podcast. I like to ask our guests, at what moment in your journey, career, did you kind of have a turning moment, a game-changing moment? It sounds like maybe early on for you that happened.
I would say early on, but, I've had different points throughout my career where it's like, oh, if things didn't change here, I might not, get to where I am. But I would say the one of the biggest one was in 2007. I went out to Arizona to race in February at this big dirt race out there, and we ended up winning 2 of the 3 races that in one night. And Tony Stewart had his sprint car team out there. Casey Kane had his sprint car team out there. And then one of Tony Stewart's drivers ended up about a month later getting hurt. And so they called me to, take his place. And I ran the rest of that year for him, moved to Indianapolis right out of high school, ran for him that year. And then I ended up signing my contract with Roush Fenway Racing back then and at the end of 2007. Mm-hmm. So like from January of 2007 to October of 2007, a lot changed for me. So I moved from Mississippi to Indianapolis, basically straight to North Carolina, and been there ever since.
The rest is history, right?
That's right.
So one of my all-time favorite NASCAR memories, weekends, was the first time I got to cover Daytona 500.
Oh, yeah.
It happened to be in 2023.
That was your first one?
That was my first one.
Nice. You picked a good one.
So I picked a great one. I was so excited. I had covered numerous races before in North Carolina, Texas, and also here in Nashville.
Yeah.
So, but this was my first Daytona 500. We were there for a week. I must have worked 5 straight, 14-hour days. Just
Those are long days.
Long days, but adrenaline, pure adrenaline. So finally, I got to Sunday, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is the race day! I got to save some for the tank. I got this." Well, it turned out to be the longest Daytona 500 in history, 530 miles, and at the very end of it was Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Yeah, that was crazy.
It was crazy for me. I can't even begin to imagine what it was like for you. What was the feeling of winning that race?
I feel like the Daytona 500, we have, been at the front of a lot of Daytona 500s. Felt like the year before, we were in position to win. We were leading with, 5 laps to go and ended up getting crashed, kind of coming to, I don't know, maybe 6 laps to go off of turn 4. And so felt like we put ourselves in position, that year. In 22, 23, I woke up Sunday morning and I don't know, I just felt like we were going to win. I had that feeling. I didn't tell anybody, but I felt like we were going to win. And
there was something.
There was something there. I was super calm, felt good, had a ton of stuff to do. Daytona 500 is, our Super Bowl. It's crazy how much stuff we do.
Yeah.
Kind of action-packed in between that day. You get up and do, Fox and Friends at 8 a.m. And then all of a sudden after we ended up winning, which I barely had enough gas. I didn't get to do a burnout because I didn't have enough gas.
So ironic.
Yeah,
so
it's
great.
just wild.
Yeah.
And then, when it was all said and done, I went to bed at 4 a.m. So, it was a long day. I got up at 7, went to bed at 4, and then I was back up at 6:30 doing, interviews in Victory Lane on Monday morning. But I was not tired whatsoever that week. I think I averaged about 3 hours of sleep, that whole next week with everything that we did. So I was actually just telling, the guys with Nashville that if we win on Sunday, that I'm probably staying over that, Sunday night.
Absolutely. And you're going to Broadway, right?
Yeah, we'll definitely be down there.
Yeah, bar hop on Broadway. Yeah. If you, how familiar are you with Broadway? I know obviously you grew up in Tennessee, but you were young.
Yeah, I didn't come up here to, go down Broadway when I was younger, but I did do a couple birthdays, in Nashville. I feel like, kind of 2008-ish, 9-ish before it really took off lately.
No, that's accurate.
So it definitely wasn't near as busy, but it was still fun. But we've done, charity golf tournaments here with friends, and, obviously when the race is here, we come in town and come hang out, and got friends that live in Nashville. So definitely familiar with it.
You're circling back to that Daytona 500 win. There were numerous crashes, especially the big one at the end. What was going through your mind in that final stretch? Did you know you were going to be able to pull it off? Because I don't remember any of us knowing what the heck was going to happen.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, when the caution came out, it was one of those things that at Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta, you want to be leading at all times at the end of the race. You never know when the caution's going to come out. You never know if you're going to have to race all the way back to the start-finish line. Our rules are, if you take the white flag under green, then if a caution comes out or you make it back to the start-finish line with the checkered flag, that will be the end of the race. And so going in turn one, Christopher Bell down the front straightaway gave me a huge push, and I kept trying to block lanes, and finally I picked his lane. He pushed me and then pushed me out in front of Logano at the time. And when the caution came out, like I saw it in my mirror and I was like, oh, I was definitely, ahead. I was definitely ahead. But then, so I was very confident. And then, but I was still waiting on NASCAR to be like, hey, you won the race. And, it comes either from the crew chief or your spotter, when NASCAR comes over the radio and says, 47's the winner. Talladega in the fall last year, we raced all the way back to the start-finish line. The caution didn't come out. And I was not sure if I won that race. So like, I don't know. Daytona, I was just like 100% sure. The fall race, last year at Talladega, I was like, man, I think we won, but I'm not real sure. So you're just kind of waiting. I would have been real bummed if they'd have told me I didn't win the 523. That would not have been good.
I can imagine that. You're listening to the Nashville Game Changers podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe. Stay with us. We're back after this. One of my favorite segments on the show, we call it In My Opinion. And it's full range, whatever.
Dang, my wife would say I got a lot of opinions.
We should get your wife on next time. Ask her about that. Full range. It doesn't have to be about NASCAR. It could be about NASCAR. Anything in the sports world. But I like to give our guests just kind of an opportunity to, hey, what's been on your mind lately? What's been lighting your fire?
You're not asking me anything specific?
No, And it doesn't have to be about racing.
Oh, dang.
It could be your favorite show you've been watching lately, this new album that dropped, how great our Fox 17 sportscasts have been lately. Those have been great. Those
have been great.
Yeah.
I pick it up great in Charlotte.
I'm sure. Yes. Watch it on the stream.
Yes. Dang. I was not ready for this.
That's my bad.
I would say, man, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what I've paid attention to this week. I think Brock Purdy is very deserving of his contract.
Okay, a 49ers quarterback contract extension.
I don't really have like a
coming.
team, but I do think he was very deserving of that. I always thought that, obviously what he was doing on his rookie contract and what he got paid was very, very odd to me. So,
was it Mr. Irrelevant?
Yeah. I think he made like $890,000 a year winning playoff games or whatever it was.
Rookie contracts are not a ton of, they're more than most people. Yes. But comparatively speaking, the rest of the league.
Not for him living in San Francisco.
That's a really good point. He might have been losing money in his rookie.
That would have been tough. But no, I think, that was one thing that just popped up in my mind. But
are you somewhat of a 49ers fan?
I was a Patrick Willis fan because I'm an Ole Miss fan. So, when he played there and I don't really have like a team that but I don't know. I like Kyle Shanahan.
Okay. Yeah. There is this team called the Tennessee Titans. They used
to be the Memphis Oilers.
And that's right.
Time ago.
Houston Oilers.
Or Tennessee Oilers, or whatever they were.
Yeah, Houston, but then they moved to Tennessee and they started in Memphis.
The Coliseum.
Yes, didn't have a stadium.
Was that no, not the Coliseum. Memphis Tiger Stadium.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I went and watched them a few games there.
Did you really?
Yeah.
So you're really a Tennessee Titans fan at heart, is what you're saying.
I can't believe they let A.J. Brown go.
Oh, don't get me started on
Just
that.
saying.
Oh, we're gonna need a separate podcast for that discussion. We definitely don't have time for that one. But they have a new quarterback this year, Cam Ward, #1 overall pick. So since you're kind of on the radar of rookie quarterbacks, keep an eye on Cam Ward. He's a special kid.
He should be good. He was good at Miami.
He was very good at Miami. Fingers crossed.
Who's he going to throw it to?
He's going to throw it to Calvin Ridley.
Oh, he did get Calvin
Tyler
Ridley.
Lockett. Van Jefferson.
Yeah, so why would they let AJ Brown go? They wouldn't even, they just throw it up and then somebody would catch it.
Oh my gosh. I love how when we talk about the Tennessee Titans, first thing that comes to your mind is, why did they let AJ Brown go?
Yeah, Ole Miss guy, obviously.
Yes,
yeah.
there you go. It all goes back to that. Now I'm
exactly.
sensing that. That was a really good, in my opinion, by the way.
Well, that was good?
That was really good. Yeah. Organic, raw.
Nailed it. All right, perfect.
Before we let you go, final thoughts going into the big race, Cracker Barrel 400, maybe a key for you that will be on your mind.
For me, it's all about, what we do on Saturday. That is I feel like right now our cars are, when I say I'm looking for my car to be, drive better, be a little bit faster, it only needs to be a little bit faster. Our cars are so close right now in speed that Saturday is one of the most pivotal points of your weekend. If you can qualify in the top 10, you get a good pit stall selection. When you start the race, you obviously have good track position. You're at the front. It's just a lot easier from there. So we're very focused on Saturday to make sure that we have a good starting spot come Sunday.
Yeah, you work on getting to victory lane. I'll work on getting you a guitar teacher.
Okay, perfect.
For your
Sounds
Gibson
great.
guitar. And then after you win, I'll meet you at Honky Tonk Central and we'll work down Broadway together. I'll
got to end it.
Yeah.
I got to get fried bologna sandwich at Roberts.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so maybe start there.
Yeah.
And then circle back. Okay, gotcha. Got it. I got the map written out.
Good.
He is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. So excited to see him race on Sunday for the Cracker Barrel 400. Thank you again for joining us on the podcast, and best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.